Harry's Wife, Part 102.56, Desperation, How We Really Met. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Undoubtedly many of you listening to my stentorian tones are in relationships of a romantic nature. You may have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You may well be married or engaged. Good for you. And undoubtedly, I'm sure there's a lovely story about how you met. But outside of perhaps one or two friends and family members, nobody gives a rat's ass about it. And you recognize that. And you similarly don't feel any need to have to tell the world about how you and your spouse met unless somebody happens to ask you about it. So, how did you two get together? Asks a friend. And you explain. But you certainly don't ensure that your love story, the beginnings of your coupling, are written about in a magazine. But of course, as you all know, that doesn't apply to Harry's wife because it's necessary for her to ensure that the world knows just how much her and Harry are in love, that theirs is such a wonderful relationship, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before, that the way they came together was beyond anything that you might have witnessed in a light romantic American rom-com. And furthermore, you all need to know about it. Accordingly, she triangulates people with her relationship by bringing up the past, and of course, this time the spinning wheel of PR puff piece falls upon Cosmopolitan, with an article by Mahira Bonner that declares the sweet story of how Harry's wife and Prince Harry actually met, and who introduced them. There's been a lot of truly extra speculation. Therefore, it's suggested, of course, that the way that they met is being bandied around in a way that's incorrect. And now it's time to set the record straight and let you know just how wonderful it is that these two came together. I bet you're delighted to learn that this is the case. I would recommend that you have a chuck bucket to hand, as undoubtedly you're going to need it to listen to the beige dross that I'm going to have to read to you and, of course, dissect it. So, suitably warned, here we go. From pretty much the moment news broke that Prince Harry was dating Harry's wife in October 2016, there's been speculation about, one, how they met. Not really. Everybody knows how they met. It was a blind date. She was on the prowl for a rich white man in the United Kingdom. And two, who set them up. And a lot of details remain a mystery. No, they don't. They've been written about repeatedly. Honestly, what asinine nonsense is this? But things we know for sure. They met in London. Yes, we know that. Through friends. Yes, we know that. In July 2016. Yes, we know that. And were basically smitten love at first sight style. Now, again, this concept of love at first sight, guess who invented that? Yes, we did. This whole notion that you meet somebody and immediately fall head over heels in love with them, how can you? You don't know anything about them. You don't know how they behave under pressure. You don't know what their political views are. You don't know if they engage in some reprehensible habit that causes you to feel similarly disgusted and on the cusp of offing yourself. You don't know what their past is. You don't know who their friends are. You don't know what they do for a living. And you might say, oh, well, all of that doesn't matter, but it does. And the concept, of course, of love at first sight, this romantic, hearing the angels singing in the heavens above, where everything just fits together, and the universe that brings these two people together is just a romantic notion that has been utilized and propagated by our kind. I have come to learn, from what I have seen, what I have witnessed, what I have studied, that an enduring relationship comes from getting to know that person, and that the love, where you have that emotional empathy, grows over time. It doesn't appear just like that, but we invent that because it sounds fantastic, and of course it sweeps our victim off their feet, that causes them to believe that they are also similarly smitten. But all that has happened is that their addiction is corrupting their love devotee trait to cause them to believe also in love at first sight. Much later, sometimes never, but often later, they realise, I don't think I did fall in love with them at first sight. It was something else. I'm not quite sure what it was. Sometimes individuals think, I never actually loved them, did I? I now realise that. Others do, of course, love the narcissist, but it doesn't happen at first sight. That is infatuation, which can, of course, affect both victim and narcissist, but it is typically what drives the narcissist's behaviour. And, of course, it's articles such as this dross in Cosmopolitan that propagates this concept of the idea of love at first sight and being smitten the moment that you lay eyes upon somebody, which, of course, believe me, is very much part of the driver of the narcissist. The article continues, we also know that a mutual friend set them upon a blind date. Itching for more details? No, but I'll carry on anyway. Cool. Fuck off. We have them, so settle right in. Harry and Harry's wife honestly tell the story best themselves. We were introduced actually by a mutual friend. We'll protect her privacy, Harry said during their post-engagement interview. It was literally through her. Then we met once and twice back to back, 2 dates in London last July, beginning of July. Then it was 3, maybe 4 weeks later that I managed to persuade her to join me in Botswana, and we camped out with each other under the stars. Meanwhile, Harry's wife added, it was definitely a setup. It was a blind date. She also noted she knew basically nothing about the British royals and only cared about whether or not Harry was a nice person. Which, of course, we know that that's wrong. We know that's a lie. We know that she Googled him. We know that she was infatuated with the concept of Diana and becoming Diana 2.0. Inaki Pretty has confirmed this. We also know that she'd had pictures of herself taken outside of Buckingham Palace. So to say that she knew nothing about the British royals was a lie. And the fact that she says that causes us to then call into question the suggestion that, it was just a blind date. We know from other sources that she was sniffing around for a rich, famous man. Tom Bauer explained how Ashley Cole came up on the radar, but he wasn't particularly interested. Piers Morgan might have had a sniff or not, but then he was shelved. And, of course, the suggestion was made, but I think it was through the German-sounding lady, von Helstotz or such like, that brought them together. Because I'm from the States, you don't grow up with the same understanding of the royal family, she explained. And so, while I now understand very clearly there's a global interest there, I didn't know much about him. Bullshit. So the only thing I asked her when she said she wanted to set us up, I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Sure. Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense. And so we went and had met for a drink, and then I think very quickly into that said, well, what are we doing tomorrow? We should meet again. Notice, of course, that already her narcissism is driving her forward to seduce him by saying, what are we doing tomorrow? So she meets him, and then, very quickly, A, wants to meet up, and B, to do so tomorrow. That is not the healthy way that a relationship would unfold. You might meet for a date and then afterwards send a message saying, really enjoyed it. I wonder if you'd like to do something in a week's time or 10 days' time. Why? You've got other things going on in your life. You've got a job to do. You might have family to look after. You've got friends to see, badminton to play, jogging to do, a house to run. You have existing concerns that fill your life up. And so has the other person. So a healthy person would show emotional empathy by not immediately wanting to say, hey, let's do another date. But of course the narcissist does. Why? Because Harry's wife's narcissism basically does this. Potential victim. Let's move in on him. Potentially easy to control. Her narcissism will have been working that out whilst they have the date together, as she'll have gone with her false laugh and giggling over him and touchy-feely, making eyes at him. And of course old Ginger Bollocks have been lapping it up. Secondly, the narcissism will have recognised, yep, plenty of fuel coming from him. Thirdly, oodles of character traits. Fourth, plenty of residual benefits. Excellent target. Let's get after him. Therefore, the narcissism won't go, play it cool. Contact him maybe in a fortnight and see what's happening. Get in touch with him in 2 weeks' time. No, it says you need to get hold of him. Immediately then suggest meeting again and suggest tomorrow. But the article carries on in the fog of not understanding a narcissist at work by stating, "Oh, and Harry, bless, gave some details about the exact moment he first laid eyes on Harriet's wife, saying, 'I'd never watched Suits. I'd never heard of Harry's wife before. I was beautifully surprised when I walked into that room and saw her. There she was sitting there. I was like, okay, well, I really have to up my game here. Sit down and make sure I have a good chat.' Well, brilliant, Harry. That's how you up your game. Well done for you." Royal reporter Katie Nicholl also wrote about the couple's meeting in her book, Harry and Harry's Wife, Life, Loss and Love, excerpted in Marie Claire, saying that a friend of the couple's said they just clicked and got on from the very meet-up. It was all very easy and natural from the start. So, who introduced Harry and Harry's wife? There's been a lot of speculation about this. At first, people assumed it was Misha Nonu, a close friend of Harry's wife, who was previously married to Alexander Gilks, a close friend of Harry's. Misha never confirmed or denied the rumours, and her rep told People in 2017 that Misha will not be discussing anything surrounding her relationship with Harry's wife. Unless, of course, I've been wheeled out as a member of the coterie to talk about it by saying she does a lot of things behind the scenes in terms of charitable works. Then I will talk about it. She was also asked directly by the Evening Standard and said, "I really can't answer that." However, E! News revealed in 2018 that Harry's childhood friend Violet von Westenholz is the person who introduced him to Harry's wife, which we already knew, so Cosmopolitan trying to make out as if this is some kind of revelationary news in this article, which was published on October the 11th, is basically hogwash. Harry was having a really hard time finding anyone, a source said. It's hard enough finding someone new to date. He can hardly go on Tinder or a dating app like normal people, but to meet someone that you actually connect with, that was proving to be almost impossible. It was something he had confided in his closest friends about. He was ready to meet someone, but it was so hard to actually find the right person. Meanwhile, Violet knew Harry's wife through her work in PR with Ralph Lauren, and the rest is history. Harry's wife had been a part of the London social scene for a while, had she? And had slotted into the high society set real easily. Really? The source said, and so when Harry told Violet he was having trouble finding someone, Violet said she might just have the perfect girl for him. So there you have it, the story of when Harry met Sally, line put through Sally, Harry's wife. Well, fascinating, I'm sure you'll agree. And of course, you have to ask yourself, why are we being told this now? It's quite simple. Harry's wife is under pressure. She's receiving repeated threats to control, and therefore her in-house PR person spins the wheel of PR puffery, and it's Cosmopolitan's turn to bring up something from 6 years ago, telling us things that we already know but trying to make it seem as if actually this is all fresh news. And, of course, failing to recognise the beginnings of a narcissistic ensnarement. But, of course, you, as a consequence of accessing my work, are able to understand it. Assertion of control and drawing of fuel by bringing up the past and triangulating people with her relationship. And also the anatomy of the early ensnarement of narcissist and victim. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.